White House invite. The administration confirming that President Trump did invite Russian President Vladimir Putin to Washington this fall. This as White House officials continue to address concerns over the commander-in-chief's recent summit with the Russian leader. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reiterating the president's tough stance on the Kremlin.
This administration has been relentless in its efforts to deter Russia from its bad behavior. We inherited a situation where Russia was running all over the United States. These last few days have been, frankly, more heat than light. This administration has been strong in supporting the Ukrainians, strong in making sure that we protected against Russian expansion in other parts of the world. We all recognize that that threat is real, and President Trump has been strong in protecting America from Russian aggression.
Here now is Republican Congressman Chris Collins, a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, as well as Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar, a member of the House Appropriations Committee. Congressman Collins, I want to start with you first. So close to the midterms, this Vladimir Putin visit to the White House would be. Are you worried?
Oh, I'm not at all. Let's face it. This is, to me, about world peace, Dagan. Our hot spots are North Korea, Iran, and Syria. That's what's put this world in a dangerous place. And let's face it, Vladimir Putin and Russia have their fingers in all three of those. And the only way we're going to get a resolution in a safe world and world peace is for Vladimir Putin and President Trump to come to some agreement to get rid of the nuclear threat in Iran, the nuclear threat in North Korea, and the terrible situation in Syria. So that takes conversation. You don't do that over the telephone. I think the trip, the Helsinki summit, was a good first start, and I think it's Trump's to be congratulated that he's continuing a dialogue with someone that has to be part of the solution to keep this world safe.
Congressman Cuellar, even, however, other Republicans, I think it was Senator Lindsey Graham, said there aren't going to be any one-on-one meetings any longer between Putin and Trump.
Well, you know, that certainly speaks a lot when even our Republican friends are saying that we shouldn't leave President Trump and Putin alone. I mean, that speaks a lot as to what sort of confidence they have. Look, I agree with my friend, my colleague from New York, that we have to make sure that we, first of all, we protect the United States. That's number one. That's our number one interest. And one of the things that we still have to answer is, you know, the aggression that Russia did in the 2010 election. And I don't want to relitigate the, you know, the election. Don't want to talk about that, but just what they did and what they're doing now. Look at the Department of Justice report they did about cyber security and cyber threats. So we have to make sure that it's not only the weapons that they use, you know, the general type of weapons, but it's also the cyber issues that have been used against us.
Well, Congressman Collins, to that point, there's going to be a great deal of pressure on President Trump if Vladimir Putin is on U.S. soil right before the elections to put the hammer down in terms of any manipulation of our election process and really hammer that home. There was a Microsoft executive who was speaking at a conference, I think it was at the Aspen Institute yesterday, who confirmed that there had been attempted Russian interference with a handful of candidates, or about 3 candidates so far for the midterms.
Well, there's no question, Dagan, that Russia did meddle in the election. It didn't change the outcome of the election, but they were meddling, just like we have cases where North Korea and Iran are attacking or attempting to get into our infrastructure, our nuclear plants, and we've got them going after bank records. Right now, cybersecurity is a top issue, not only when it comes to elections, but it comes to every other aspect of Americans' lives. And we've got a lot of bad actors and the same people, and it's North Korea, it's Russia, and it's Iran that are leading these efforts. And we have to be on alert, not only in the government, but also private industry and even common sense measures by individuals. That is one of the issues that's facing us and will continue to face us literally forever.
I want to switch to immigration. A new Gallup poll released Wednesday shows that immigration was the top problem facing the United States among those polled, followed by dissatisfaction with the government and poor leadership. How can Congress come together in a bipartisan way to fix immigration in this country? Congressman Cuellar, I know that you did vote to support ICE.
Well, you know, of course, look, I support ICE. I've worked with them for many years. I know them. They're men and women. And I don't think we need to attack the men and women that are just doing the law, just enforcing the laws. I think what we need to do is look at the policies. Bottom line is this. Bottom line is, if we're going to do immigration, every piece of legislation that has been passed on immigration has been bipartisan. If one party thinks they're going to do it by themselves, it's not going to happen. It's got to be bipartisan. And I'm certainly, I'm the first one to reach out across the aisle and say that I'm ready to work. There's ways. I live on the border. I drink the water. I breathe the air. I understand. The only problem I have is when people come down to the border, spend a few hours, and they think they know the border better than a lot of my constituents and the law enforcement people that we have down there on the border, with all due respect.
Yeah, you act, Congressman Cuellar, you sound like you're talking about members of your own party, too, not just Republicans.
No, you're right. And if you look at some of my quotes, I've said that, to Democrats and Republicans, hey, just, pay attention to the people that are there, that have lived there, that understand. For example, in my area, we want to see legitimate trade, commerce, tourism with our friends to the south, but, that it's got to be balanced with border security.
There's a lot of bipartisan agreement on this program this morning, and I think our viewers appreciate it. Congressman Chris Collins, great to see you, sir, and Congressman Henry Cuellar.
Yes, good to be with you, Dagan.
Take care.